We got Ryan talking a little Buckeyes from Columbus, but he is not an Ohio State fan. Take a listen.
What's going on, JD? My name is Ryan here in Columbus, Ohio, and I just want you to just burst every Ohio State fan's bubbles because I've been seeing a lot, I've been hearing a lot about them going back to back national champions, and it just irks my soul that is an actual belief here in Columbus. Now, just by the simple fact that everyone around them is getting better, everyone in the Big Ten is getting better, they're just not going back to back. And the fact that they lost how many starters? I think it was 15. Don't quote me on that. Lost offensive coordinator, lost their defensive coordinator, and have a freshman at quarterback. I mean, I'm a big Michigan fan. I'm a Bryce Underwood enthusiast. We do have a freshman at quarterback, but he's the number one player in the country for a reason. So I just want you to just come on here and just burst all Ohio State fans' bubbles and point out the facts and just stop their delusions, man. Thank you.
Man, shout out to Ryan. Michigan fan in Columbus, Ohio? Are you kidding me? Ryan's got to be one of those guys, man. If you're going to be a fan of the rival school, so shout out to Ryan, and shout out to Ryan calling in again, 629-888-3931. Ryan, let me just say this. I've just told you how much of a dude I think you are, being a fan of your rival in not just like in the state of Ohio, but being a Michigan fan in Columbus, Ohio is a feat in and of itself. Unfortunately, man, I can't do what you're asking me to do. I can't do it. I don't say unfortunately because I have any agenda against Ohio State. I'm saying unfortunately because you called in and made a point and said it with your chest, so I appreciate that. But, brother, it's still Ohio State. It's still Ohio State. And I understand what you're saying, too. Ohio State loses a lot from last season. 101st, I believe, in returning production from last year's national title team. But new at Ohio State is not the same as new at another school. Like, new at Ohio State is not bad. It just is new. Exactly that. Like, this is a roster that's made up of exclusively top 5 classes. It's still creme de la creme. And I'll say this, too. Not just is it top 5 talent, it's top 5 talent that got exposed to what it's going to take to win a national championship. It's one thing to be talented. It's another to be able to be talented and then know what it takes to get it done, man. Like, I think that maybe gets overlooked a little bit in this whole discussion. There's a lot being made about, well, hey, can Ohio State avoid complacency? Can they avoid the slip-up of winning a national title and the hangover? It's all fair. It's all very much so a fair thing to ask and talk about. But at the exact same time, I don't think we give enough credit to how much it could be an advantage for Ohio State as they look to repeat. Now, the Julian Sayin thing you mentioned, I think is fair. He still has got to win the job. He is a redshirt freshman, so full year in the system. He got spring practice last year, so not quite the same as Bryce Underwood, true freshman at Michigan. But, man, far be it for me to tell you he's not that guy. Far be it for me to tell you he's not him. Now, he still has to do it, still has to earn it. We have not seen him play a lick of college football that is meaningful. No knock on the garbage time he got, but no real meaningful snaps yet for Julian Sayin. I will say this. Last time Ohio State played a redshirt freshman at quarterback, it was an individual by the name of C.J. Stroud, who Julian Sayin has been comped to a little bit by some folks in the media. C.J. Stroud, his first year as the guy, went for 44 touchdowns. So, again, I'm not saying it's going to be a one-to-one comparison, but Julian Sayin will have every opportunity, I think, avenue for success as his first year as the guy if he does, in fact, win the job. Now, I do think he wins the job, just so we're on the same page here. He's still throwing to the Monstars. He's still throwing to the best player in college football in Jeremiah Smith. So does he have to live up to the standard that is Ohio State and being the quarterback? Of course. I think that's honestly the biggest challenge that I have for him is, can you handle all that comes with being the guy at Ohio State? Can you handle with being the guy at Ohio State if you lose the first game to Texas? That's where I question Julian Sayin. I don't question the physical tools. I don't question the accuracy or all those things. I question, can you handle everything that comes with being the quarterback at Ohio State? Because if you're at Ohio State and you're a take for Ryan Day and that staff, you're probably good enough to get it done. Now, what you said, I think, about the coordinators is the most valid case that you can have maybe projecting against Ohio State repeating for a national championship. Because there were games last year from Jim Knowles to Chip Kelly that those dudes, I don't know if they won you the game, but they absolutely earned their paycheck. They absolutely made a massive difference. The Texas game comes to mind where Chip Kelly's dialing it up at the end of the game, and you got some trickeration, a little Emeka Ibuka, and you got a little design quarterback for Will Howard, a little run game there. There's a lot there that I think Brian Hartline, being elevated to play caller for Ohio State, he'll have to, in the same fashion, bring enough to the table to allow you to make that jump. Matt Patricia as the DC. To me, it's not so much are they good hires. It's are they good enough to make up for that 10% Ohio State's going to need to win a national championship. Because, y'all, there's going to be, call it 10 out of the 12 games Ohio State's going to play where they can roll the ball out there and be more talented. 9, depending on how you feel about Penn State. That's really the question I have. Are they good enough to elevate Ohio State from a talent level? It's not a talent thing. It's a talent level being elevated, quite frankly. Now, the rest of the Big Ten that Ryan mentioned, I think, is also a really good point. If Ohio State doesn't win the Big Ten next year, and they didn't win the Big Ten this past season, still win the national title, if they don't win the Big Ten this upcoming season, I don't think it's a knock on Ryan Day getting complacent or Ohio State not having the juice or whatever. It could be, but to me, I would honestly lean more towards the potential of what the rest of the Big Ten is going to be. Like the Penn State, they've made every move this past offseason to go compete and win a national championship. The same kind of moves you saw Ohio State make last season. Penn State made this upcoming season. Oregon, what they are on the roster, you always know they're going to have the talent. Michigan, they're only getting better, and they beat Ohio State last year in Columbus. USC, I don't see them staying down. So there's a lot there to where if Ohio State, to get to your point here, Ryan, if the bubble is going to burst in Columbus, it's going to be, hey, coordinators weren't good enough to make up for what you lost last season. And the schedule overall, the Big Ten overall, the tide kept on rising, and they were good enough to get it done. It all comes down to me, whether it's fair or not, to Ryan Day being able to keep that temperature set at a national title level. Now, when I say setting the temperature, I'm not just talking about setting the thermostat to a certain point. I'm talking about, can you actually change the temperature tangibly? Because coaches can demand a certain thing of their roster, and they can say all the right things during team meetings and all that. I'm talking about, can you legitimately put into your entire roster the sense of urgency and the way of doing things that is required to go win a national championship? If they can, amazing. But if they can't, I do think you look at Ryan Day. I think you look at the rest of the roster of not being able to come along quickly enough for Ohio State to repeat. So, Ryan, I think it's very possible that Ohio State could repeat. I'll leave it at that. But I'm excited to see what they are, and I appreciate you calling in, and I appreciate you dialing in from behind, for you at least, enemy lines, being in Columbus as a Michigan fan. So we appreciate Ryan.